2019 GMC Sierra Denali. 20% tint on the front. Very good match to the rear. Becoming pretty popular. I used to do 35, but finding many like the 20, and I'm starting to agree. I think it does actually look better. So start off with really kind of wetting everything down, taking just a microfiber towel, grabbing anything loose, dust, good wipe down. This came in pretty clean, so I don't have to do anything crazy. This isn't a detail service. This is just doing enough to make sure that we can prevent as much contaminants or dirt or dust that gets into the tint as possible. So the tint will start on the outside of the window just as a measurement and cut process. Then I'll come back again right on the glass and do a quick squeegee. And now we'll go ahead and throw the tint on. Quick wet down. Set it up, get it roughly in place, making sure you got full coverage all around. Something to keep in mind. There is a release liner on the tint. The release liner needs to be facing out towards you right now. When this gets transferred to the inside of the glass to go into, actually the application, you're going to peel the liner and you need that to be facing up because that's where it's going to apply to the inside of the glass. So keep that in mind. Okay, so all I did is I made sure I had enough clearance all the way around to get me to where I need to be. I'm going to go ahead and lock it in place. So you've maybe seen the tint videos before where they're going to make a cut, slide, make a cut, make the alignment, address at the bottom. It's not the process I like to follow. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and rid this excess at the top corner. If you're doing like a car, a lot of times these top corners come in handy with the little quarter glass behind the rear doors. You can flip this right around, go back there. Doesn't apply in this case. So this is locked. I can't move it. Making my cuts, I don't ever cut on the vehicle. It's just personal choice that I've made. I don't trust myself, especially on a new vehicle that's pretty expensive, to not do any damage. I just don't want to take that risk. So what I do, Sharpie permanent marker. Again, the release liner's on the outside, so I'm only drawing on the liner. I'm not actually drawing on the tint itself. And we're going to just gently get the tint as far as what's visual from the outside and run that marker line across that. So now this is giving me a representation of where the tint needs to be at minimum for visibility on the outside after it's applied. When cutting, we're going to compensate a little extra to ensure that we have some material to get behind the gaskets for a nice clean tuck. So first, got it on, got it in place, trimmed the corner, tracing the visual bottom three sections, the outside section. So rear, front, and bottom. The top we're actually going to line up and cut with the knife. So I'm going to roll the window down a little bit to get us there next. So we're going to lift up the bottom of the tint slightly, making sure that it's still going to maintain a locked position, not to pull too high, but the glass is going to go down enough to get the top edge exposed. So make sure you're pulling some slack to not bind that tint at the bottom of the gasket as it's going down. Lightly trigger the button. Most windows now are automatic. You're going to send that thing right down if you get too aggressive with the button. So now that exposed edge, I just come and hit real quick. Sometimes that's going to tell you, some applications, the window might actually adjust as it's coming into the channel, as it's raising and lowering. Many times it stays in true pattern. So a quick double check is always helpful. Okay, so I'm going to seal Now, this top edge, make sure it's flat and clean to the top edge for a nice cut. And essentially what we're doing is we're going to use the top edge of the glass as our pattern to cut with. So, bring up the knife. It's always good to start on this side and work back. Starting here and coming down, this may not be too bad, but in some applications you're gonna find the mirror is too close and you're gonna get stuck and you're not gonna get to the corner. So start back here is always a good practice. Nice, consistent flow. Tearing away from the project. Okay, so now I've transferred the tint onto what I've got here is just an old sunroof that came out of a vehicle a long time ago. I've been carrying it around me. It works good for a mobile station, but it's essentially just a mobile cutting board. So you're gonna see now our reference line that was left from the visibility mark that we traced when we were on the vehicle. So always a good habit, break a blade before you start. Making the first cut here at the top corner, rounded corners are always helpful. So I will start following the path of the original pattern from the top edge, about 1/8 beyond our line, and then we're going to just essentially trace that 1/8 gap in mind along our line. Pick it up, flip to the other side, coming from the bottom edge, get to about our 1/8 inch. Follow it up and align ourselves again with our top cut. And now the bottom. For me, when I tint, I like pulling the panel. So, pulling the panel provides more opportunity to set the bottom edge of the tint further down below the gasket. My preference, you're able to do what you wish. Many application tint shops are just going to leave the panel on. They're going to tuck enough underneath there to be functional, and they're going to move on. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Personally, this is a hobby. This is something I'm doing in my garage at home. It's not. I'm more concerned about just providing an absolute assurance that I'm not going to leave an edge that it's going to get caught and have to deal with it. So I just want to do it the first time, take a little bit longer, but I trust that I'm actually going to have a better result for myself until I gain experience, maybe to eventually pursue that other direction. But at this point, this is great opportunity to start with, as it's just going to give you some more confidence and less tedious in that process of putting in the tint without pulling the panel. As you know, it's debatable whether that is easier or harder. For me, this is the way I found that I like to do it. So I'm going to go a little bit of a longer or a wider gap at the bottom because you have the ability to. So that's more like a 1/2 inch. And that just is going to be to ensure that we're going to be well below the gasket line at the bottom. Where the glass is going up and down, that edge is always going to be far enough down to not be exposed. So now we have our pattern cut and we're ready for application. So we're going to go ahead and pull the panel down enough now to give us our access to the inside here, so we can apply the tint down below, line it up into our gaskets, our top edge, and get it in place. So this is the method that I've been doing now for my tint project. So to get the panel off, there's a trim piece right here that we're going to pop off. There's 3 or 4 clips, metal clips that are holding that in place, and there's one plastic cover right inside of the handle area. And then I believe there's going to be a couple of 7mm head fasteners down below. So trim removal tool for this. One, two, 3 metal clips. They all came out. Sometimes the clip will stay in the door. This actually came out pretty nice. Some alignment tabs at the bottom. This actually was going to be the first spot to go in. So click in. When we replace that, there is a notch that you are able to put a screwdriver, flathead, or trim removal into. Pops that right out. Those are the only 2 plastics that I believe we have to remove on this. And then there's a screw here, 2 there, and 2 at the bottom. So those 5 will come out. And those should be all a 7mm. Okay, trim panels usually make scary noises. It's all okay. Plastic clips are just coming out of tension. We'll lift up towards the top. And it's only going to be a short period of time. We'll let that hang. We're not able to get a rubber gasket out of the bottom. And boom, just like that. Now we've got full access, door panels off. That would be the same process if you need to do any type of repairs, switch, handle, whatever, speaker, electrical wires. But in this case, gives us much more room to work with. Get the bottom edge in the sides, line up the top, all in one motion. So that's what we're gonna work on. For the cleaning process, power up window switch. Everything's still intact. All we did is pulled it back so it still functions. Leading top edge exposed. Flat razor blade. I use a new one for every window. You may think that that seems excessive. Turn off the audio so not to waste the battery any more than necessary. Solution is baby shampoo. Same thing that I'm doing everywhere. We're gonna get everything wet down. So with the small razor blades, you can get like 100 pack for like $6. So it'll actually last quite a few uses, or quite a few applications for relatively inexpensive. And on a newer vehicle, this is a 19, not many miles, you know, we're probably not going to find that there's much benefit that we're going to get from this. It's always a good practice, but the older vehicles that we work on, you'll notice that this actually, you know, has more miles and years and life of the vehicle. You'll get more grime, but working everything down. A lot of times you'll hear if there's something that's stuck to the glass, you'll hear it when you scrape over it, and then you'll know to maintain that. You're hearing now the little information section that basically is reiterating who made the glass content, and registration that we tinted over. There's no trouble with that. Okay, everything's clean, scraped. Bring the top edge back down, re-wet it, fresh paper towel. I like the Blue Shop towels. They're lint free. Some paper towels will actually break down when they get wet and leave small specks of dust. And you'll find those in the tint. Quick wipe. Surrounding area around the window. Inside the channel from the outside. Pretty clean in this application. Sometimes you find that that outside channel that the glass will seat up into will be pretty bad. So small tool. Basically, it's just like a Bondo spreader, body filler spreader. Cut it at an angle to create a triangle shape, which is easier to work with. We're gonna get into that channel. Anything that's in there, we want that down and out. Gonna follow up with our paper towel. Would usually reveal if there's anything in there that we need to, you know, that'll come out pretty dirty in a lot of applications. Newer vehicles are nice. Haven't had a lot of time on the road yet to acquire that. Dust and dirt in the channels. Blue Max hand squeegee, this is what I use for all my applications. I like this, I save it and I keep it clear for the inside. I had another one that you saw, which was the yellow handle. This is generally what I'll use for all my outside. So this is really kind of using any application that this is touching is for cleaning purposes on the outside, where it's not as particular. And also it's running on the liner side of the tint to the outside as we're test fitting or locking in place for trimming or cutting purposes for marking our lines. On the inside now I say this and I keep it just for inside applications, which is going to touch the clean surface. So I keep those separate. Don't have to, but what I prefer to do. So I'll do this like 4 or 5 times, and really we're just getting a nice clean swipe from top to bottom, raise up. Notice the newer GMs will go into battery save mode pretty quickly. One last time. Okay, I feel ready to go ahead and put the tint on. So I've got the cut tint here on this door ready just to go for a quick application. It's facing the direction I want it to. The liner is on the outside. We're going to peel that liner, making sure we're spraying, and then we're going to go ahead and apply it right into the glass. So we want to get a little bit of coverage of the soapy water solution, baby shampoo and water on the window. I'm going to spray up a little bit, any dust that may be in the air. When it's wet, it falls to the ground faster. We want to get that out of the air so it doesn't attract to the tint as we're carrying it from this position to the glass. And I'll also hit my arms a little bit just to kind of let them down. Should there be, for any reason, some dust or anything close to you, if you're wearing sleeves especially, there is a static attraction when you pull that liner off the film, and it may draw any contaminants to stick into the tint, and then it's going to be stuck there when you add it to the glass. So that's going to be kind of the process I'm going to go through. I'm going to do it pretty quickly. Just the less time the adhesive side is exposed, the less likely you're going to find contaminants in the film. So tuck the bottom edge of the front down first. Slide that into the front channel. Lay in the rear. Working that down, making sure we're staying away from the top adhesive surface, from touching anything. As we work that down, we can lay this in place. Now we're just going to work it back and forth to center it between the gaskets front and rear. To help, you can apply pressure. It's going to push the glass away from the gasket, and then that tint will slide a little easier within there. And essentially what you're looking to do is create a consistent, smooth gap across the top edge. And you want that to be slightly below the edge, so it will not, so you can't catch it going up and down into that gasket. Blocking the front, I'm sorry, the top edge first. It still will move a little for a period of time until all that moisture is kind of pressed aside. Work material to the bottom and sides. Okay. Edge tool, hit up the edges, and work down, pushing some of that moisture from the edges down and out, sealing it behind the gasket. I'll then grab a paper towel. Try to push as much moisture out of this top edge as you can. I like to apply some heat on my top edge from the outside, just preference. Okay. Light pressure on the glass. Battery die. Battery save. Okay, we worked that in place. Light, slide. And now we're going to apply our pressure to get the rest of that, because we've really only worked the top edge at this point. Starting at the top, and then working straight down from there. Applying pressure to get as much of the moisture out as we can. Working our edges again, all the way to the bottom. Drawing excess moisture out of there. And down and out through the bottom. All right. At this point, we're already set to reassemble. Reinstall our gasket. So we've got gasket line here, at least a good 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of material below that. So as we come up and down, there's just never going to be an opportunity for the bottom edge of tint to catch on the top edge of this gasket and peel its way back up. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen if you don't peel this off. It can happen if it's not done correctly, but this is just an insurance policy that allows me to prevent that. I also found that it's easier to be able to just take the tint, remove the liner all completely, and set the bottom edge in first, get it into position, and now it's done. Okay, so we went ahead, finished up, got gaskets in, that's where I started, tint's done, cleaned up. Setting the panel is just reversing the process we did to take it off. Hooking the top edge, getting that seated, setting it down in place, lining up the push clips in the back, pressing those in place. The 1 7mm here, 2 of them down here, 2 of them down here. Click on our trims, wipe everything down, final result. Now here we are. There we are, all done. Also added the top windshield. Ready to take it back.